Welcome to episode 108 of the Muck Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Hillary.
Hi.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about Florida session.
Woo, girl! I got so much to fucking say.
There's so much to say.
First of all, so we're recording on Saturday. And
yes.
I set my alarm for 6:30, 6:45, 7 to get up and go for a run.
Oh,
I woke up at 8:30.
Oh, when I texted you,
yeah, and you're like,
I'm gonna come over.
Can I come over early? Can you make coffee? I was like, oh shit, I totally missed these alarms. But look at my cat.
Oh my goodness.
She climbs all the way up to the top. Tina.
Parkour! No?
So I have wood paneling like on my walls out here, and the new cat, the baby cat, she's been climbing to the top. So that's been.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun when there's lots of pieces of wood on the floor.
Oh, that's nice.
Don't step in that. Don't step on
baby.
that. But yeah, I have a lot to say about Florida. So the 15-week abortion ban, which is the copy of the Texas ban that passed in their last session, has passed its first committee.
Yeah. So
we're all overjoyed here. If you've got a pair of ovaries, you got a lot of problems in Florida.
It's ridiculous.
I tried to, I was very upset about it, and my daughter had said something to me, and I was like, no, this is this awful thing. And I go, don't you care about this? And she goes, I don't care.
Well, she doesn't care because she's young. She doesn't understand.
She doesn't understand it, but like, we're supposed to be fighting for them.
Yeah.
And then by the time my daughters, it's not going to be there anymore.
Gone,
You know, it's going to be over.
One of the things that I think is the worst of all of this is that it's all for the news. You know what I mean? It's all for the base, and it's not about the people of Florida. Because Florida has a lot of issues. We have a lot of issues still with COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of unemployment. We have a housing crisis here. No one can afford to live here anymore. You know, our schools the bills that are passing for our schools that are going to take money away and further restrict and potentially put cameras in the classroom and
can't say gay.
Oh,
can't talk about being gay.
You can't talk about history.
Can't talk about, you don't want to make white people uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
Oh, God forbid a white person becomes uncomfortable with actual real information about the history of this country. Real stories, real things.
Who are the snowflakes?
Ooh! I love it.
Who?
I love it.
Is it? Are we? It's like that thing. Am I the asshole? Am I the snowflake? No, you're the fucking snowflake.
Yeah.
Like, you can't talk about race. It makes no sense. I have taught for 17 years, and I have taught books that deal with race, and I have never had a student, a white student, feel uncomfortable. And if they did, oh well. There's a lot of things and a lot of topics that are going to make somebody uncomfortable at some point, and that's part of learning and growing and talking and understanding how to talk about those things. Yeah. And anytime that I ever brought up issues of race, or, if we were doing a text that happened to have pejorative language in it, I would spend 3 days talking about what is pejorative language, what does it mean, where do we hear it, what does it mean to you, having full discussions. And kids are open to talking about that.
Of course.
And that's okay.
But isn't that
okay?
Isn't that the age where you want to be talking about that? So that before they go out into the world, they're not fully cooked yet. You know what I mean? So before they go out in the world, they're actually, equipped with these tools
and
to understand bias and racism and
just how
privilege.
To talk about these hard topics in a way that isn't charged with anger, right? Like, learning how to talk about these, understanding where people are coming from, and learning empathy. Yeah. What is wrong with that?
Nothing.
Give me a break.
It's once again, it's another session. I think this is the third in a row that is concentrating heavily on those topics that are, what do they call them? They're just like,
these hot button topics.
Yeah, that's it. And it has nothing to do with what's actually going to help the people in the state of Florida.
It's insane.
Has nothing to do with that at all.
And guess what? Nobody really cares about it. I mean, not that they don't care, but abortion across the board, the number I think is like 80.
It's majority people approve of it,
which means that's bipartisan.
Yes,
right? That people are like, leave abortion alone. Like, can we move on from this? This is a small group of people that want to control everyone. Yeah, that to me is like a dictatorship, you know? Like this, they just want, it's just these Mitch McConnells who, I'm sure you saw that clip.
Ooh, honey. He had some shit going on this week. That's all was on my Twitter feed yesterday was, I'm an American, because he's saying that people, I guess it was something about the Voting Rights Act, right? And how the people that are going to be affected are Black Americans, and he said...
And the rest are, you know, other, and he's like, and the rest of Americans. Like, making the distinction as if...
Black America is different
and I
saw,
I think it's a quote by Toni Morrison, that it's like, everyone else in America is a hyphenated American, right? Except for white people.
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
God damn.
As if that's not done on purpose. So, yeah, it's depressing. And you see lawmakers just trying to do like a wrap up of the week. And I'm like, Jesus, how the fuck do they sit through this bullshit over and over and over again?
You posted Anna Escamani.
Oh my God, it was so funny. So funny.
Your comment was really good. But yeah, how she sits there like, I don't know how they do it, listening to these people, and it's all white dudes. Like it's like,
P.S.
we'd be done
and
with
I
this
know
already.
I don't know how you feel about this, and I apologize to you in advance, but I don't fucking care about Casey DeSantis and her breast cancer. And I know she's a fellow woman. Like, I know that you're a survivor, but I saw a tweet that she put out yesterday, and she had finished her last chemo, and it's like, here's the bell. It was like a bell they gave her.
Yeah.
She rang when she did her last chemo, and it was on top of some books that people had sent, and she's like, now this will be a permanent part of the governor's mansion. And I thought to myself, is there a bell that women have to ring when they're not allowed to get an abortion?
Yeah.
Is there a bell when they take abortion away and we have to force a woman to have a child, or a child to have a child? Can we get a bell for that?
Yeah.
Casey, I'm sorry. And people, women lawmakers and other lawmakers across the aisle retweeted and support her, and I totally get the solidarity.
Right.
But also, she's not raising her voice to support women when her husband and his party are trying to take it away from us. And I don't fucking like that. Are you standing with us or not? Are you or not?
And the other thing with that, which goes back to what we talked about before, is she's, ringing the bell to bring awareness to breast cancer and the importance of early screening and this and that. And then at the same time with COVID, it's just like, oh, we don't need to know. We don't need these PCR tests. We don't need, we don't need all this testing. We don't need masks. We don't need precaution. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And also, like, I know she's like the first lady of Florida. I guess that's her title. I have no fucking idea. But like, you can be a first lady and support women and have your own issues. But if it's going to be sitting by and talking about this, it doesn't. I'm sorry, but women are fucking suffering here in Florida, and you're sitting by, sleeping next to a man who's allowing that to happen. And you want me to talk about a bell? Like, congratulations. I'm happy for you. I hope you survive. I know you'll survive. Everything will be okay because you have excellent fucking health care.
Yes.
You're going to do just fine.
Yes.
How about speaking up for the women in this state who are going to fucking suffer and have been suffering under COVID? Mothers who can't go to work or have lost their jobs because they got to stay home with their kids because of the fucking virtual school. Whatever. What are you doing?
Or are sending their kids to school sick because they don't have another option.
Yeah. And that happens all the fucking time. So, I don't know. That pissed me off.
There's no protection.
No. I'm fucking over it. There's something else I want to say really quick before we get into the stories, unless you have something else.
No, I just was upset about the school boards. I was at the
my
library.
God.
It's just one thing. It's just, and I think we were all on this. We were on a group chat about some of these bills, and I had posted in there that this is just all it is another Republican grab to destroy the public school system, which is our right.
Yeah.
To have a public school system that is functional, and all they want to do is gut it so that they can hand out their vouchers, and then again, it's going to be people with access and money being able to use that voucher and offset the cost of a very expensive school and send their kid there, and where does everybody else go?
It just seems
it's so unfair.
The thing that's the funniest to me is this. There's so many things they can do that would actually help people. Why is school the target? Like, leave public school alone. Give them the money they need to do their jobs. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, why is this institution something that we're attacking? People are sick here. Yeah. We've got water that's not clean. We've got sewer water being dumped in the canals. I mean, there's just an environmental things alone in Florida need to be tackled 30 fucking years ago. But we're going to talk about critical race theory
I know.
in public school. We're going to talk about 15-week abortion bans.
Yes.
These are human beings that you are directly fucking affecting. There's a girl who was forced to have a baby because of the ban last year. And the judge that forced her to have the baby he mentioned her grammar. She's not mature enough. Her grammar skills aren't good. The way she's talking. Like,
but she can have a baby.
Because remember, that's what the bill was. The minor has to go into court in front of a judge with a guardian or a parent.
An old white guy.
Yeah, and explain to the judge why she wants to have an abortion as a minor. And he denied her because of the way that she spoke.
Oh, God. That's disgusting.
Okay? That's what's happening in Florida. They don't give a fuck about people.
And not to mention with our schools. Like, if you want to focus on schools, how about gun safety? How about getting rid of that? Because
we had a mass fucking shooting here a few years ago. Nobody remembers that anymore.
How about just 2 days ago that thankfully this child walked into a Broward County school. He was smelled of marijuana, and which was the only reason that they decided to search his backpack, and they found a gun and a loaded clip.
Oh my God!
What could have happened that day if he didn't happen to smell like weed that day?
Oh my God!
What, like, we have to live in fear every single day of what could happen to our children,
or you,
or the staff, or the people that work there.
Yeah, no,
it's not right. Like, if you're all about protecting our children, like, why don't we start there?
God. Anyway, so here's something funny that I don't think I mentioned on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, but. At work, like, nobody knows that I have a podcast.
Yeah.
Nobody knows I have a podcast. It's like a totally separate life. And, you know, I've worked there for over 20 years, and I'm very much like, I come in and I do my job, and I'm like, you know, I'm in charge, but I'm like running this shit, right? Okay. So, and I'm very like this. Nobody knows this. No. Nobody knows this.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Like, it's just
like funny. Yeah, funny. But not like goes in. So I was talking to one of my coworkers, Dennis. And
hi, Dennis.
He's much, much younger than I am. And
Dennis.
Hi. And he was telling me about all these things he does on the weekend to, like, make money or whatever.
Oh, he's hustling. He got the side hustle
fucking going. Hustles. And I was like, I was on the computer. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I said, I have a podcast. He's like, what? What? Wait, what? What are you talking about? You have a podcast? I go, yeah. He goes, what's it called? I said, the podcast. Of course, the phone comes out. He's like, look up and he goes, 106 episodes. What the fuck? He goes, Hillary, what are you doing? What is this? This is crazy. I'm like, yeah. And he's looking it up. He's like, oh my God. Like, he can't fucking believe it. And I'm like, and immediately I was like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah,
like, what have I've
opened the can of
I've exposed my Superman, like, secret status. So a couple days go by. He's like, I'm going to listen to this, right? So a couple days go by, and I came back to work from lunch, and I saw his truck there, and I was like, oh God.
He's either going to love it or he'll hate it,
I was like, what's going to happen? So I go in, and I go, hello? And he goes, is that superstar podcaster? I was like, oh no. And he was like,
my God.
Hillary? First of all, who is that on the podcast? Like, I have no idea who that person is.
No!
I didn't even know. He's like, you are like, motherfucker this, motherfucker that. Like,
wow.
What? Who is that person? And then he's like, it is so fucking good. Like, you guys are so good. You have to keep going. It's so good.
Dennis.
He's like, you're going to be famous. I was like, what? So then I called you because this is like my second time someone's been like the podcast, and you weren't there the first time. So I was like, I gotta call Tina. So I called Tina and I put her on speakerphone, and she's like, "Hi," and he goes, "Oh my God, that's the girl from the show." It's like I was calling Brad Pitt or something, and I was like, I know.
Hey, Dennis.
Yeah, hi. It was like such a weird, like, bizarre moment, but then he was just asking, he was telling me, like, he's listening now to all these episodes, and he's saying, whatever happened with this person? What happened? And then, so I'm working, he's popping his head out the door, and he's going, who's Ted? And I was like, oh, I have a crush on him, that's my state representative. And then like it was like live feedback of listening to the show.
This.
Oh my God, Tina.
How
and then
fun.
he was listening to the Lauren Boebert one on Friday when he was at the office, and he was like, God, this woman sounds fucking awful. I was like, yeah, she's the worst. She's the worst.
Oh,
like,
maybe dentists are somehow like the key of getting this out to.
He's telling people. He's telling his
the
friends
young
about
people.
it. Yeah. So please, I mean, my God, I have
Spread
felt
the
very,
word,
very
spread the
special.
word, spread the
Yeah,
word.
I felt very special this week when I was just like, who's listening to this garbage? And like, he's listening to it, which is so fucking funny. And then I was like, don't tell anybody at work. Like, I don't want anybody to
Yeah, it's
know.
so funny with work because I have a couple people at my job. I think maybe 1 or 2 people that know, and I don't really talk about it at all, just because I'd like to keep that separation.
Yeah.
But if someone would say, "Hey, blah 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 blah," I would be like, "Oh yeah, I have." I wouldn't be like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
You know, not like at my other place of employment where, geez,
Right.
I was scared to death.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it's been very fun to get all that that feedback on the show, which is so good. But yeah, that's all I got, baby.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Today, I'm going to tell you the story of former Stillwater, Minnesota mayor Ken Harycki. So Ken Harycki served on the city council for the city of Stillwater, Minnesota before being elected to his mayor's seat beginning in 2006. But when the FBI raids his office in 2014, the mayor has to answer for his misdeeds.
Ooh, I love this.
Okay, so our story takes place in Stillwater, Minnesota, it's a small city, 18,000 people.
Okay.
And the city is known for its lumber, which is going to slightly come into play with a little funny anecdote.
I've never been to Minnesota. Have you?
No, I just think, I don't know, I just imagine the Fargo accent.
That's all I was just going to say. It's like,
Minnesota?
I wonder, Minnesota?
Yeah.
Oi. Well, no, they don't say oi. What do they say? That's Jewish. What am I thinking?
I think,
Oh.
Isn't it like a lot of O's?
No, what am I? I'm totally out now. What is my Fargo?
Well,
I wonder if Fargo had like a
It's
rash
been a
of
while.
tourists come to that town
I
when that
bet
movie came
you.
out. Yeah.
digging for that money that he never found.
Yeah. Oh my God, Steve Buscemi is so good in that movie.
I love him.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so I don't have much background on Harycki. Here's what I do know. So, and this is based on a letter he wrote for Hometown Source in May 2014, and he, in this letter, was announcing that he would no longer be seeking another term as mayor.
Okay.
So he writes this letter, and he writes that he first met his wife in Uruguay. They were both visiting the country, and I thought this was kind of funny because he's from South Milwaukee and Greendale, Wisconsin, and she was from White Bear Lake, Minnesota.
Oh,
so they weren't
weird.
too far from each other, and they meet on a train, and he has this beautiful story about she has this long flowing hair, and they were like drinking and eating and just had this wonderful time.
It's like that movie
and they fall
Before
in love.
Sunrise.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So at the time in 2014, he had been married for 28 years. He had 4 children. He wrote about traveling throughout Europe and across the U.S. with his family. He talked about the hardships they faced. He noted that his wife had breast cancer and had gone through that, and that there was an autoimmune disease. He talked about his accomplishments as mayor and noted that they had done this flood protection, that he had gotten a new armory and fire station. There was this bridge project that I'll talk about in a little bit. And that he had served on the Eagle Scouts Court of Honor for like 20 years or something.
Wow.
And then he closed the letter, and I guess I'm just a romantic, but he closed the letter. It said, "To my wife, Mary, I'm a little older than I was in Uruguay. I'm a little grayer and a little more tired. I still love a little wine, a little song, and of course, that cute girl with the long flowing hair."
Oh my God.
From White Bear Lake. Isn't that so sweet? It's very sweet. And I mean, he didn't really do the right thing here. And there's a couple funny things. But so Harycki first served on the city council in 2004. He served for 2 years before being elected mayor in 2006. And Twin Cities Pioneer Press Mary Devine reported that attorney Tom Brever described him as, quote, a good guy who had been involved in all kinds of community activities. He was even given an appreciation award in December 2014 for his years of service to the town, according to the Star Tribune. He did have one hiccup during his time as mayor before the major incident.
Okay.
And this kind of goes to this bridge.
I hate when this happens, when it's like a good guy and everybody loves him and all of a sudden you find out crazy shit.
Back in March 2011, the city voted to give the Coalition for the St. Croix River Crossing $80,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the St. Croix Crossing was this bridge project, and it dealt with two bridges. There was the Stillwater Bridge, and it was a lift bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And it was built in like the late 1800s, and then in the 1930s they had like redone it, but it wasn't really safe, so they had to think about something else. So they converted that bridge into like a bike pedestrian crossing, which would still open for boats and marine traffic or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they needed another bridge that was going to handle the traffic coming from Wisconsin to Minnesota to help ease traffic. And it was going to be like a 4-lane bridge and all of this.
Oh, no.
But by September of that same year, the state's auditor office said the city had to give the money back. So they gave this coalition $80,000. So the whole issue was it didn't go through due process. Okay. So there were a couple of things. So the mayor was co-chair of the coalition.
Uh-oh.
Right? And the coalition was working as a lobbying group.
Okay.
To try to get Congress to, because a lot of people didn't want the bridge the 4-lane bridge being built because it was that was considered like protected property, like a forest land or whatever. There were people that were like, don't touch it, like we don't want anything built here, and then other people were like, we have to get rid of the congestion, and so he was part of this coalition that wanted that done, and they're going to get $80,000 to help lobby and do the things they have to do to get this bridge. And it's a little conflict of interest there since he's the co-chair of the coalition.
I mean, that's
voting on giving himself $80,000, right?
Good. Not good.
So the auditor, one of the recommendations was, quote, if the city decides to contract with the coalition for services directly related to one of the city's authorized functions, the city should use proper contract management procedures to protect public funds. So it needed to be transparent, and they were using what was called TIF funds. And TIF funds could only, you know how this works. Everyone's like, well, if you have all this money, but certain things like you could have like $1 million sitting somewhere in the city, but that money's allocated to parks.
Right.
So maybe you need something, for roads, but you can't take that money because it's already allocated to parks and like,
there's a budget.
And that's how it goes.
Budgets are created and they're voted on.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, so the TIF funds they're supposed to be used for public improvement, like building bridges. Okay. But the coalition wasn't building a bridge. The coalition was lobbying.
Oh. So you go to a construction firm or something, an engineer.
Yes.
Got it.
And so they're like, you're playing around here. And there was a guy in the city that filed a complaint. He's like, no, this is BS what you're doing. And so then the city auditor got involved. And so that was like, a little thing, that happened. But the big thing that happened...
Oh, my God.
So Fox 9 News reported in 2015 that Harycki started his scheme to help this company defraud the government back in 2007. So, like, just when he gets elected mayor.
No.
So... Here's how he did it. So basically he was an accountant. So, a lot of these people, you have your day job and then you're working on the city commission and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So he was an accountant. He had an accounting company. Okay. And he offered his services to a company called Model Healthcare. So this company was taking payroll taxes from the people working there, which is normal. But instead of giving those payroll taxes to the government, they were keeping the money.
How can you do that?
And
this is what I do for a living, by the way. It's part of my job.
Well, so this is how he did it. So Harycki, as the accountant going over their taxes and whatnot, he should have ratted these guys out. But instead, he created a shell company to hide what was going on and that had control over these bank accounts. And then he also created other businesses to get the employer ID numbers.
Oh my gosh.
To file those false claims. And those companies, according to NPR News and the U.S. District Attorney's Office, paid the Belfries. So there were these brothers, the Belfries, that owned this company. Mm-hmm. And that didn't show up on their tax returns because they're using this other... So they
So what happens when everybody goes to file their taxes at the end of the year, like their employees? Is going to show that they didn't receive any of that?
They had like also like fake employers and
Oh.
yeah, I think that everything was just fabricated.
Wow.
So the IRS and the FBI end up raiding Harycki's accounting firm, Customized Payroll Services, in March 2015, and you mean he really did customize that payroll.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting in trouble. So Fox 9 also reported that the prosecutors released this statement regarding Harycki's role. Quote, during the course of the conspiracy, Harycki also incorporated other businesses, obtained employer identification numbers, paid for personal expenses, filed false tax returns, opened and used numerous bank accounts for the benefit of the separately charged co-conspirators in order to avoid payment of taxes.
Dang.
So that company, Model Health Now, was owned by these twin brothers. Like I said, Thurley, I don't know why their names just made me laugh, but it was Thurley and Royley Belfry.
My God.
Like, say that 5 times.
Thoroughly and really bad Belfry.
You can't. It's a tongue twister. It's a new tongue twister.
Parents are really fucking around.
Oh my God.
God.
So they're considered the co-conspirators in this. And these guys made millions.
Yeah. Dude, let me tell you something.
Millions of dollars with this tax scheme.
These-
Oh, and they also were doing Medicare fraud on top of that.
Oh my God. These
Yes.
PPP loans is a new kind of fraud. Like,
Yes.
what they're finding, like, these PPP loans were huge for businesses. My company got one, and you can get forgiven if the business uses it for payroll costs and all those things during the pandemic. And we actually got a loan, and to be forgiven, you have to, the amount of backup is probably this high. Like, I had to, like, stacked. I had to pull everything we used the money for as proof that, which was, you have to prove that you used it to get forgiven.
Yes.
And we were forgiven for the loan because I had all this backup. There are people getting money, creating companies to get money. Dale Holness's daughter,
Hi.
who reactivated a company to get money. And then he didn't. And then he, during his campaign for congressional House District
he's
20,
like,
I don't know her.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know who that is.
He did the Homer going into the bushes.
I don't really see my daughter anymore. Meanwhile, she's committing fucking fraud. All right, but the amount of people who have done this and created companies and made up all of that backup to get forgiven is incredible.
Yeah. And it's messed up. We're in a crisis.
Yeah, and there's businesses who actually need that money and
It's
use it
so
for a good
gross.
reason. And this is the kind of shit people do.
Yeah, anytime that you can make a buck, people are gonna, in a bad way,
forget
they're
about
gonna
it.
try.
Jesus.
So, like I said, they filed these fake Medicare claims, and basically it was over a 12-year period. So they were scamming from 2002 to 2012 or so.
Good grief.
And Harycki kind of came in around 2007 and fixed the books, basically.
Wow. Were
And-
they like mob guys or just?
No, they just own this business. And
I was thinking, like, did they threaten him? But I guess not.
no, I don't think
He just went along with it. 'Cause
He
was
just went
getting-
along with it.
He was getting money too, right?
They don't really say how much he got, but he did have to pay back a lot of money.
Ooh, girl.
So, I just wonder, like, how do you go around spending this money and not being freaked out every day that someone is going to bust you? Like, you know, how do you live a peaceful life?
You don't.
I would be so stressed out
why?
every minute of the day.
I know. I feel the same way, but I think that's the difference between a criminal and a non-criminal.
Yeah, they're just like,
criminals are like,
whatever.
fuck it, let's roll the dice and see what the fuck happens. They're willing to risk freedom, right,
Oh
and
my
not be on the
God.
streets and getting in trouble. Than us. We're the poor schmoes who are fucking going to work every day.
The
You know, clocking
my
in
God.
day in and day fucking out. Like, Jesus.
I know. What are we doing?
I don't.
damn
Let's start
it.
a shell company. Fucking rip people off. Oh my God. Just kidding.
We're not.
No one's doing that, IRS. Don't come looking for me.
No, we're not. Okay, so shortly after his office gets raided, Harycki did what many elected officials never do. He resigned from his position as mayor.
Okay, thank you, mister.
So Michelle Mirren, writing for Press Pubs, notes that in November 2014, he resigned for, quote, unknown reasons. So folks knew that the office was raided. They knew something was going on, but they don't know the reasons yet. Like the indictment hasn't come down. Like, you know, so everyone's like, oh, he's resigning.
Oh, God.
And at the time, Mirren reported that the newly elected mayor, so remember he wasn't going to run for re-election, there's this new guy wins, but instead of writing out the rest of his term, he resigns early. And the newly elected mayor, this guy Ted Kozelwiski, had this to say about Harycki's resignation. Quote, it's always been out there with his kind of personal issues, that something was coming. I think everybody in town, city staff, and the council were kind of prepared for the day he'd make an announcement one way or the other. But I don't know. He could just be completely worn out, and it might just be needs to spend time with his family. I think the rumor is that something is coming down the pipe legally, but rumors are rumors. Well, Ted.
Rumors are coming true today.
Yeah, the rumors
Holy
were
shit.
true. There was some truth to them. So
Ted is such a lovely name. I wonder if he's
oh,
balding older Jew that I can fall in love with.
Oh my god.
I wonder if Ted Deutsch has any fucking idea. Like,
hi Ted. I think Ted listens.
do you think?
Are you listening, Ted? Oh, maybe he'll watch another YouTube video.
Oh my god.
Maybe he subscribed to the channel and gets a notification. Have you guys subscribed? We are
Tina got that
ridiculous.
GoPro. No more video. I don't know who's been watching the YouTube videos, but they are hilarious to me. That's like halfway through, it's like, oh, sorry, your video
Yes.
cut out because we're shitty and we don't know what the fuck we're
we
doing.
don't know what we're doing, but guess what? We have a GoPro.
Woo!
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby. And Tina, look at this. They're like professionals.
We are so professional.
You know, I always do this. We say, like, I think in
know.
the audio in the last one, I was like, I don't want to say we're good.
Oh, I know. It was so funny. Here we are.
Here we go.
All
Oh my
right.
God.
So after he resigns, the vice mayor at the time, Mike Polena, he takes over as mayor, of course, until the new mayor's term begins. So the whole thing is why? Why would Harycki do this? Like, why? You know, you've had this whole career. You know, you seem to be well liked by the town. Like, why? According to Mary Devine of Twin City Pioneer Press, Harycki claimed that family problems were why he did it. Essentially, the emotional and financial cost of his wife's breast cancer diagnosis
Oh no!
led him to commit the crimes he did.
Oh my god!
And that kind of pissed me off.
Okay, but
It kind of pissed me off.
you know how
Like, you can't-
expensive this is.
No,
Tina.
I know, but to use your wife's
this poor woman.
illness,
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. Like, and I'm sure things were very,
Yeah.
you know, stressful. Like, you know, I'm not discounting that, but I just like, dude.
Oh god.
And I do want to note that some reports, primarily by this Mary Devine of Star Tribune, noted that Harycki's attorney stated that Harycki was unaware of what they were doing,
Oh please.
or I guess the extent of it. But he did plead guilty, and he said that he did all the things they accused him of doing.
Oh wow.
But the way that Harycki sort of kind of got a lesser punishment than the other two dudes is that he fully cooperated with the IRS
I was just
and the
gonna
FBI.
say that. I was just gonna say
and
that.
he gave all the dirt on the twins to help ease his own sentencing later on. So the charges, one count to he pled guilty to, one count to defraud the U.S. government. NPR News noted that Harycki was charged, quote, by information. And I'd never really heard that term before.
Yeah.
Sorry, legal people.
Charged by information.
And I guess it means that the person charged, one thing I read said that they kind of intend to plead guilty and that it's similar to an indictment, but it doesn't go before a grand jury. Instead, it goes before the judge.
Okay.
So the judge presiding over the case was Senior U.S. District Judge Ann Montgomery. So he finally admits guilt. So at first he wasn't really admitting, and then he admitted and decided to help out. And he said that his fraudulent actions of filing false tax returns and forms cost the U.S. government tax revenue of $1 million to $2.5 million.
Holy cow.
That's
Holy
a lot of money.
cow.
Like, it's not like, oh, $100,000 or like, it's a lot of money.
Jesus.
And that's like the tax part. Remember, the other guys were defrauding like Medicare and doing this other stuff.
Dude.
So, according to Devine of Twin Cities Pioneer Press, Mayor Harycki got 1 year and 1 day in prison with 3 years of supervised release after serving his time.
Wow.
And he was ordered to pay $2 million to the IRS. He served his time at a U.S. federal prison in Duluth. And at the time of his sentencing, Harycki had this to say, quote, I do accept full responsibility and I am a better person. Over the past 4 years, I've spent many a sleepless night thinking about my decisions. The U.S. District Attorney's Office released a statement on Harycki's plea as well, and U.S. Attorney General Andrew Luger had this to say, quote, as a former mayor, Mr. Harycki understands, better than most, the magnitude and impact of the fraud he helped to perpetuate. By his guilty plea, Mr. Harycki has taken responsibility for his actions, But that does not excuse his criminal acts. The defendant not only violated his accounting license by covering up a tax fraud, he eroded the trust of the residents of Stillwater, who elected him to a position of high public office.
I love that. I love when the FBI, they always say, hey, you have betrayed the public and the people who voted for you. That's
it's
so
not
true.
right.
No.
So there's not much like aftermath, but I did find that he still works as an accountant and he still owns Century Pay.
Wow.
Which
he does everything on
which does payroll services and taxes. And he served his time, but I was like, man, he's still out there crunching numbers after fudging numbers, like got him in trouble. Like, man, what?
Oh, and his
what are
wife
you doing?
is okay? Is she?
I think so. Yeah. So, I'm sure there's other accountants and other folks kind of working there.
Yes.
I would imagine that he is probably, like you said, so on the up and up because he does not want one number to be wrong.
No.
So I have some points of interest, and there were a couple that made me laugh. So one of my favorite ones is from Giles' article in the Star Tribune, and Harycki's co-conspirators, the twin brothers. So they were spending money on all this lavish shit, like we reported in other little mucks,
no,
major mucks that we've done.
Little mucks are protected content.
But they used some of that $3 million to fund the creation of their own reality show.
What?
Yes. I mean,
God.
You're scamming the government.
Oh my God.
And now you're going to put yourselves on television.
See,
like, don't you want to be under
No, they're the worst.
You're going to be on TV.
It's like Bobby D. I told you don't buy anything.
Yes.
Bring that car back with the fur coat. What the fuck are you doing? You're like, fucking take it easy.
Take it easy.
On the DL.
On the DL. No, we're going to have our own TV show.
Oh my God.
Like, what in the world?
You know what the worst part is? They have to fund their reality show because it's not like anybody's knocking at the door going, you guys should have a show.
Yes.
No, they gotta create themselves. We're so great. We should be on TV. Everybody should see this.
It's so ridiculous.
Oh God, what did their mother do to them? This is like,
oh my God. Well, look at the names, so we already know that from the beginning it wasn't going well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a star. I'm a star. Put me on TV.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
So I found an old article from Historic Bridges website that talked about a History Channel show. So there was this History Channel show where, like, I guess they go around and look at old bridges, and they go to Stillwater to that lift bridge, and they're like, "This is unsafe." And
Jesus.
Harycki freaks out because then they have to fix this bridge, or like someone's going to get hurt, and it's going to be the city's fault. So he decided.
TV shows going around busting balls all over the fucking place.
So he wanted to change the name from the Stillwater Lift Bridge to the federal government lift bridge so that they wouldn't get in trouble if it collapsed and the federal government would. I was like, what?
That works.
And then he also wanted to pass like an ordinance, and he wanted signage that would go up that would read, quote, "This unsafe crossing brought to you by your federal government at work. Cross at your own risk." And he wanted to put skulls and crossbones.
Yes. I love this guy so much. Now, this is why I'm going to Minnesota. I'm going to go shake this guy's hand. I'm going to do that too. I'm going to put on my mortgage of this house. I'm going to put Joe Schmo. And then I'm not responsible to pay for it anymore.
Yes,
so,
it's
not my house. It's Joe Schmo's house.
Oh
I
my
don't pay the
God.
mortgage here.
And this is another hilarious thing, I thought. So UPI reported that Harycki also wanted to change the name of the town's Lumberjack Festival. So remember I said this is a lumber town.
God, I want to go to a lumberjack festival!
So
yes!
The original, or the name for years and years and years and years and years was the Stillwater Log Jam Festival. And it was a music festival.
Oh my God, Tina, we gotta fucking go to this!
But Harycki got wind that Log Jam had negative connotations in Urban Dictionary. So basically, it basically means like you can't fully like poop, like you got it's still stuck in there. You can't wipe you can't wipe your butt totally clean. Like that's you have a log jam. I guess that's
Who
what
would know that.
Well, it's on Urban Dictionary, and so he said, "quote I feel strongly against it because of its connotation. Frankly, I didn't know that existed. I guess there's a whole subworld out there that I just found out about."
Bro,
Harycki!
But your festival isn't about shit being stuck in someone's ass. It's a legitimate fucking thing.
So people were annoyed with it. They were like, "We're a logging community.
Hello?
We deal with lumber. Like, get over it." So it did not pass. Like he tried to pass it, and everyone was like, "No."
Like he's a fucking gross. Like who cares? Okay, wait. Let's think about this festival for a second. Just really quick.
Oh,
like lots of flannel.
Yes.
Strong shoulders and arms.
You know they're throwing like the axes, doing like those
sweat,
games.
some sweat, like some boots.
Yeah. Ooh.
smell of wood,
Ooh.
cold beer.
Okay, let's go.
Are we
Let's go.
Are we going to this festival or not? Can we please go to this festival?
Yes, let's go.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Hi, Minnesota. Oh, you're so strong.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god, you're so strong.
Ooh. Ooh. Brawny.
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I think about is the paper towel guy.
Oh god, I'm gonna put that next to my bed as I go to sleep at night. I'm just gonna stare at the brawny man. Oh my god.
We are insane. And then the other
Minnesota.
thing I found funny was that on his LinkedIn, he still lists his time as mayor, like under experience.
Aw.
And he resigned for corruption, but it's still there. But I say, you know what?
What are you gonna do?
He also did some good things.
Listen.
But it just made me laugh. But that's the story of the Stillwater swindler, Mayor, not Mary, Mayor Ken Harycki.
I gotta tell you, I hate corruption. I hate this kind of shit that he was doing over there. But it says a lot for someone to stand up and be like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Here's all the things I did was wrong. Let me do my time. I'm gonna come out and contribute to society and continue to do my job. There's a lot to be said about that. I have a lot of respect. How many times have we come in here and someone's like, I'm not fucking resigning.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. And then you find tons of stuff about them and they have to get thrown out of office. They won't leave. They're up there as a corrupt asshole, like not, you know. This guy stood up and said, all right, hey, yo, I did the wrong thing.
He did the wrong thing.
I mean, that's pretty good.
And he's staying in his town. He's, like you said, he's contributing. And
I mean, come on, what are you going to do?
And he's funny. I mean, God, he's flipping out.
God.
I mean, with that bridge sign alone.
That is the best thing I've ever fucking heard.
I was laughing so hard. I was like, what?
Federal government bridge.
Can we put that on everything?
And also the show that comes into town and was like, your bridge, everybody's going to die on this bridge, you know?
I know that they were pissed.
Yeah.
But that's why they ended up converting it into a pedestrian bike thing and having the new, and they did, so they finally did actually build that other bridge.
Good.
And I mean, but this is what people should be focusing on in the government.
Thank you.
Right? Traffic issues,
public safety,
public issues, roads, bridges.
Why is this log jammer festival with this disgusting name?
Oh my God. And the bill, I know it's the Build Back Better, but that's going to make jobs across this country. So people go to work. Yeah. That's what you should be focused on. What can we do to put Americans back to work? Yeah. Come on.
I know. Girl.
But they want to get hung up on this garbage.
Are you ready for my story? I got to tell you.
Oh!
I have not been excited about a story in so fucking long.
Are you serious?
I'm so excited about the story. Okay. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. All right, don't look at my screen.
Okay. I'll look at the camera. Hey.
Today, I am covering activist and world heavyweight champion.
What?
Muhammed Ali.
What? Wow!
And his refusal to be a part of the draft.
Yes.
This was huge. I had no idea. Obviously, I wasn't alive then. But it was a huge...
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Ooh!
Yeah, it was a huge story. Because it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
He's a black athlete. Just like black athletes today, shit doesn't change. They're expected to shut the fuck up and perform, right?
A break.
Yeah. So, same thing here. He stood up. He got the same backlash as like a Colin Kaepernick with the Black Lives Matter and all of it, taking a knee. Same thing here. The Vietnam War was raging and everybody was like, rah, rah, USA. So, it was very pro-war. USA, we're at war. We got to support our troops and all of these things. And then here's this very popular, larger-than-life figure who was a bit of a sassy mouth, right? Like to the press or whatever. But he was like... he was an outrageous kind of character even. And he was beloved. And here he is being like, no fucking way. Like,
but why should he have to? And a lot of people, it wasn't just him. Yeah. There were a lot of young people opposed to that war. Yeah. And there were a lot of, I'm sure, political people whose children were in college avoiding that war. Yes. Getting medical degrees and getting, law degrees that they probably wouldn't have gone for if it wasn't for that war. Right, because they had to stay in school a little bit longer, right? Yeah. Okay, so a little bit about his early life and early boxing. I'm so excited. Me too. I was so fucking stoked in this story. I was like, yes! And had no idea that this even happened. Oh. No idea. Also, I'd like to say this.
what's up, Barefoot Lobo? He loves Muhammad Ali. And I was like, when I was doing this, I was like, man, Barefoot's going to really love this fucking story. Yeah. So I hope you like it, Barefoot Lobo.
Barefoot.
All right. So Muhammad Ali was born Cassius Clay Jr. And he was an American professional boxer, activist, and philanthropist. He was nicknamed the Greatest. He is widely regarded as one of the most significant and celebrated sports figures of the 20th century and is frequently ranked as the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. In 1999, he was named Sportsman of the Century by Sports Illustrated and the Sports Personality of the Century by the BBC. He was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. Shout out to Josh. My friend Josh is from Louisville, Kentucky. He began training as an amateur boxer at 12 years old, and he grew up during segregation, right?
Wow,
so he
12 years old.
Yeah. So he experienced a lot of racism in Kentucky.
Oh,
His mother recalled...
I can't imagine.
Yeah. His mother recalled one occasion when he was denied a drink of water at a store. She said, quote, they wouldn't give him one because of his color, and that really affected him, right? So he's even an early age. He's growing up during this time when civil rights is starting to... There's a spark there. It's starting to build and build and build. And it explodes finally as he's part of that, you know.
Can you... I cannot imagine, as a child, what that exclusion must do to a person.
Yeah. He was also strongly affected by the 1955 murder of Emmett Till, which led young Clay and a friend to take out their frustration by vandalizing a local rail yard.
Good. Good
he
for
was
you.
first directed toward boxing by a Louisville police officer and boxing coach Joe E. Martin, who encountered the 12-year-old fuming over a thief's having taken his bicycle. He told the officer he was going to whoop that thief. And the officer told Clay he'd better learn how to box first. And initially, Clay did not take up Martin's offer, but after seeing amateur boxers on a local television boxing program called Tomorrow's Champions, Clay was interested in the prospect of fighting.
Wow.
Yeah. He then began to work with trainer Fred Stoner, whom he credits with giving him the, quote, real training, eventually molding what he called, quote, my style, my stamina, and my system, end quote. Clay made his amateur boxing debut in 1954 against local amateur boxer Ronnie O'Keefe, and it was a split decision, but he went on to win 6 Kentucky Golden Gloves titles, 2 National Golden Gloves titles, an Amateur Athletic Union national title, and the light heavyweight gold medal in the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome when he was only 18 years old. Clay's amateur record was 100 wins with 5 losses. In 1964, in Miami Beach, Ali won his first heavyweight title fight against Sonny Liston. He won the fight at the age of 22 and became the youngest person to ever win a heavyweight championship. And this made him a star, right? Like everyone knew who he was. It was a big deal. And of course, like I said, he was loud and brash and like in front of the press, and he would say all those things. And a big thing about boxing was you talk shit about your opponent. Like beforehand, you're like, oh, he's a, you know, he would call somebody a bear. I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was Sonny Liston or Fred Frazier, but he would call them bears or like whatever. Like, I'm going to attack him. Like, he would talk shit about them.
I love
it. Even at like the weigh-in, which I always loved, like the weigh-in when they get in front of the scales.
I have not watched boxing.
And they have to be like this close, you know, nose to nose, and they talk shit to each other. Oh, it was, you know, so much fun. Ooh. So in 1961, he becomes a Muslim. And also that year, he renounced his birth name, Cassius Clay, and he called it his slave name, and he now was going to be known as Muhammad Ali. He became friendly with the Nation of Islam, with Malcolm X. Yep. And because of this association and how people regarded the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X, who was also very clear about how he feels about race relations and things like that, you know, white America can't fucking handle it. And so because of the association, the World Boxing Association starts to distance themselves from Muhammad Ali, and he goes with some other promoters, but they wouldn't allow him to participate in boxing matches, right? And he had to travel to Canada and Europe.
Oh, because he had that connection?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
It never ends.
I know. So he ended up going to Canada and Europe to do fights, but you have to have a boxing license to fight here. So yeah, that was a problem. So let's get into what happens with Vietnam and this draft refusal, which is really what the muck kind of connection is. I have to do some sort of connection. But I think it's legit.
Is huge,
Totally, right? Okay. So he registered for the conscription United States military, which is the draft. At 18, it's the law that anybody who's a male here has to, on his 18th birthday, has to enlist. And he was listed as 1A in 1962. So 1A classification means you're available for unrestricted military service. It's like you have no handicaps, you can see great, your body's, you're healthy, like you can go and do anything.
You're just the person they want.
Yes, you can do anything. So in 1964, he was reclassified as 1Y, which was fit for service only in times of national emergency because of who he was.
Oh.
Okay. So after he failed,
that's interesting. So certain people can have that reclassification because of who they are.
Well, and also he failed the U.S. So they went in. They're like, he can't go. Blah blah blah. They're like, well, let's test him. So they give him a test for writing and spelling skills, and they were substandard, and they realized he had dyslexia, and so like, okay, we can reclassify him this way. But he was trying to get out before that. Okay. Right. And he said, quote, I said I was the greatest, not the smartest.
Aww. You know what? He's still smart. Just because he's dyslexic doesn't mean he's not smart.
Absolutely, absolutely. But, as the Army's concerned, now you're 1Y.
Good.
Which, by the way, please put me in a fucking category.
Wait, what's another category where you never go at all? Yeah. What's that
one? Get me the fuck out of here.
That's the one. That's the category I need.
So, but by early 1966, the Army lowered its standards to permit soldiers above the 15th percentile, and Ali was again classified as 1A because we're running out of soldiers.
I know, people are dying.
We got to now. We got to bring
children are dying.
Now we got to bring everybody.
Young men are dying.
Oh my God! Fucking waste of waste. So this classification meant he was now eligible for the draft and induction into the U.S. Army at a time when the U.S. was involved in the Vietnam War, a war which put him further at odds with the white establishment. When notified of this status, Ali declared that he would refuse to serve in the Army and publicly considered himself a conscientious objector.
Ooh, I love
Ali
that.
stated, quote, war is against the teachings of the Quran. Let me start that again. Ali stated, quote, war is against the teachings of the Quran. I am not trying to dodge the draft. We are not supposed to take part in no wars unless declared by Allah or the messenger. We don't take part in Christian wars or wars of any unbelievers, end quote.
Okay. That's his right.
Yeah, and he also said, quote, we are not to be the aggressor, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. Man, I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong, end quote. Then he said, I love these quotes, I'm sorry.
No,
quote,
read them all.
Why should they ask me to put on a uniform and go 10,000 miles from home and drop bombs and bullets on brown people in Vietnam while so-called Negro people in Louisville are treated like dogs and denied simple human rights, end quote.
I mean, he's not wrong at all.
Yeah.
He's not wrong at all.
And they're using these soldiers to destroy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And to fight a war that
they don't believe in.
And that we weren't going to win.
Right. Ali antagonized the white establishment in 1966 by refusing to be drafted in the U.S. military, citing his religious beliefs, like I said, and opposition to the war. On April 28, 1967, Ali appeared in Houston for his scheduled induction into the U.S. Armed Forces. But he refused three times to step forward when his name was called.
Good.
An officer warned him that he was committing a felony punishable by 5 years in prison and a fine of $10,000. Once more, Ali refused to budge when his name was called, and he was arrested.
Good for you!
Dude, goosebumps, right?
Me, I'm covered.
Yeah. I mean, he's sacrificing his entire career.
For what's right.
That's right. That's
for what's right.
Fucking huge.
And then imagine that impact on people who love Muhammad Ali. And they're like, okay, look what he's doing.
Yes.
I'm going to do it too. Or, you need someone to stand up. You need someone to stand up.
And the tide had not turned against Vietnam. So we're still sitting in a country that was like, go soldiers, we love our soldiers.
Oh, this is before everyone flipped out.
This is before people were like, why the fuck are we in Vietnam? He was like,
good.
Before that.
Good.
Incredible to take a stand like that.
Yes.
So later that same day, the New York State Athletic Commission suspended his boxing license and stripped him of his title. Other boxing commissions followed suit. Ali remained unable to obtain a license to box in any state for over 3 years. On June 4th, 1967, in a first for sports professionals, a group of high-profile African-American athletes assembled at the Negro Industrial Economic Union in Cleveland for a, quote, Muhammad Ali summit, end quote. Now, I have a picture of this.
What?
I have a picture of this. It'll be on our
never
Instagram
heard of
and
the
our
Muhammad
notes.
Ali summit.
It's so fucking amazing, but you should see all of these athletes in this picture. It is incredible. So the meeting was organized by Jim Brown, who of course was some sort of football star. I don't know. He played something for football. For his peers to question Ali about the seriousness of his convictions and to decide whether to support him, which they ultimately did.
Of course.
At the trial on June 20th, 1967, the jury found Ali guilty after only 21 minutes of deliberation of the criminal offense of violating the Selective Service laws by refusing to be drafted.
Okay, so he's guilty. Oh, well.
Yeah. After a court of appeals upheld the conviction, the case was reviewed by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1971.
Wow.
Can you believe this?
Wow.
Fucking amazing. Ali remained free in the years between the appellate court decision and the Supreme Court ruling. As public opinion began turning people against the war and the civil rights movement continued to gather momentum, Ali became a popular speaker at colleges and universities across the country.
This is giving me goosebumps too.
Yeah. At Howard University, for example, he gave his popular quote, it's called the Black is Best speech to 4,000 students and community intellectuals after he was invited to speak by sociology professor Nathan Hare on behalf of the Black Power Committee, a student protest group. On June 28, 1971, the Supreme Court of the United States in Clay versus the United States overturned Ali's conviction by unanimous 8-0 decision.
Oh, when things were different.
Justice Thurgood Marshall recused himself as he had been the U.S. Solicitor General at the time of Ali's conviction, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The decision was not based on, nor did it address the merits of Ali's claims per se. Rather, the court held that since the appeal board gave no reason for the denial of a conscientious objector exemption to Ali, that it was therefore impossible to determine which of the three basic tests for conscientious objector status. So they offered, you know what I mean? They offered the appeal board to rely on, and they didn't reverse it. They were like, "You're good." I guess because you could be like, what, a student? Yeah. I don't know. So whatever, it's overturned. He doesn't get convicted. His conviction's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say the impact of of doing this. So his example inspired many Black Americans and others. However, initially when he refused induction, he became arguably the most hated man in the country and received many death threats.
No!
People who supported Ali during this time were also threatened, including...
And we're back. We thought maybe, guys, that we could survive.
Without one fucking thing, but that's all right.
It's okay. We're going to get this. We're going to get this working.
So if you hear me saying things twice, and it's just whatever, it is what it is. So people who supported Ali during this time were also threatened, so including sports journalist Jerry Eisenberg, whose columns defended Ali's decision not to serve. He wrote, quote, "Bomb threats emptied our office, making the staff stand out in the snow. My car windshield was smashed with a sledgehammer because of supporting Ali." The New York Times columnist William Roden wrote, quote, "Ali's actions changed my standard of what constituted an athlete's greatness. Possessing a killer jump shot or the ability to stop on a dime was no longer enough. What were you doing for the liberation of your people? What were you doing to help your country live up to the covenant of its founding principles?"
Yes! Oh, goosebumps!
Hello. Recalling Ali's anti-war position, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, quote, "I remember the teachers at my high school didn't like Ali because he was so anti-establishment and he kind of thumbed his nose at authority and got away with it.
Good.
The fact that he was proud to be a Black man and that he had so much talent made some people think that he was dangerous, but for those reasons, I enjoyed him," unquote. Civil rights figures came to believe that Ali had an energizing effect on the freedom movement as a whole. Al Sharpton spoke of the bravery.
I'm sorry. We'll just go with this. So now we know it's still record.
Nightmare. Fucking nightmare.
All this will be edited out.
You know, podcasts should be audio. I think that's what we're learning. That it should just be fucking audio.
We're going to get there.
I know.
This is our fourth time. You know what I mean? By our 10th video, there will not be a problem.
All right.
Okay.
Listen, pinky swear on that.
Okay. Let's go before the battery dies.
Yeah. So civil rights figures came to believe that Ali was an energizing effect on the freedom movement as a whole. Al Sharpton spoke of his bravery at a time when there was still widespread support for the Vietnam War. He said, quote, "For the heavyweight champion of the world who had achieved the highest level of athletic celebrity, to put all of that on the line, the money, the ability to get endorsements, to sacrifice all of that for a cause, gave a whole sense of legitimacy to the movement and the causes with young people that nothing else could have done. Even those who were assassinated certainly lost their lives, but they didn't voluntarily do that. He knew that he was going to jail and did it anyway.
Wow.
That's another level of leadership and sacrifice.
Oh,
End quote.
goosebumps.
Yes. Ali was honored with the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Award in 1970 by civil rights leader Ralph Abernathy, who called him, quote, a living example of soul power, the March on Washington in 2 fists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that.
And speaking of the cost of Ali's career, of his refusal to be drafted, his trainer, Angelo Dundee, said, quote, one thing must be taken into account when talking about Ali. He was robbed of the best years, his prime years, end quote,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So he does end up...
But, I mean, how selfless is that?
It's incredible!
Because so many people, they just want to chase that money. They want to chase the dollar.
Yes.
And he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's doing what's right.
He grew up in
right.
segregation. Like, this was
Yeah.
somebody who was ripe to, like, stand up and be a leader.
Yes.
Whether he was a boxer or not, at some point he was going to be a leader in the civil rights movement. It just so
Wow.
happened that he was, like, this world-famous boxer when it actually
and using
came
that
to pass.
platform. And using
It's
that platform.
incredible. It's incredible. So he ends up returning to boxing in the 1970s and was thrilled the world with some of the most famous boxing matches of all time, especially with his main nemesis, Joe Frazier. He fought Frazier in fights. I love the name of these fights. I thought you would like this.
Ooh.
He fought Frazier in fights dubbed the Fight of the Century and the Thrilla in Manila.
Ooh, I remember that.
He also fought George Foreman in a fight called the Rumble in the Jungle.
Oh, hey.
And of course, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 1984.
And that was a result of the boxing.
Yes,
Just being hit.
severe brain
and
damage.
that's the thing too. Like these athletes,
Oh my God.
no
forget
one is
about it.
protecting them.
No.
You know, and it's like it's wonderful to like watch the power
Yes.
because he was powerful.
Oh my God.
But at the same time, like people not realizing the inherent damage that's being
Mhm.
done, and then they want to use, like they're still using black athletes today
Yes.
for money,
Yes.
right?
Not
And
no
not
coverage for
think-
their brain damage
And
later
not
on.
thinking about the future impact and not compensating
Yeah.
or giving anything for that. It's
No.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a
he
shame.
also worked,
it's a shame.
It is, and
because
he
that's such a sad disease.
when he was diagnosed, he immediately came out with like Michael J. Fox and became a
Yes.
huge advocate. Would go in front of Congress and testify,
Ugh.
try to get funding for this disease. Like he was very much involved in all of that. But it did lead to the gradual decline of his health.
Yes.
He was hospitalized in Scottsdale, Arizona, on June 2nd, 2016, with a respiratory illness, and it was initially